Welcome back to Horrible. Coming off Terry McAuliffe's big victory last week in Virginia, Democrats are hoping momentum is on their side looking ahead to next year's governor's races. They have their sights particularly set on 3 more governor's seats in 2014, where Republican incumbents appear to be the most vulnerable. Pennsylvania's Tom Corbett, Florida's Rick Scott, Maine's Paul LePage are all top targets of Democrats going into next year. Just today, the Washington Post ranked these guys as the top 3 most endangered governors in the country. All 3 of them trail 2014 rivals in hypothetical matchups, and all 3 continue to see weak job performance numbers. Catch these numbers. Only 43% of Floridians approve of Scott's job performance. Only 39% approve of LePage up in Maine. And catch this, just 19% approve of Tom Corbett in Pennsylvania, according to the latest polling. Well, Sam Steins, the political director of the Huffington Post, and Joan Walsh is with Salon. By the way, Governor Corbett of Pennsylvania has provided some interesting explanations for his policies. Here are some of his more outrageous answers, beginning with one about his mandatory ultrasound bill.
Does that go too far in your mind?
I don't know how you make anybody watch, okay? Because you just have to close your eyes.
Since you've taken office, Pennsylvania's dropped from 7th in job growth to 49th in the nation.
There are many employers that say, you know, we're looking for people, but we can't find anybody that has passed the drug test, a lot of them. And that's a concern for me.
Do you have staff members?
No, we do not have any staff members in there. If you can find us one, please let me know.
I'm sure that there are Latinos.
Either one of you want to come to Harrisburg?
There was a controversial remark made by a member of your legal team comparing gay marriage to the union of 12-year-olds, saying both are illegal, which you called inappropriate.
It was an inappropriate analogy. You know, I think a much better analogy would have been brother and sister, don't you?
I don't know.
Well, that's a good reporter's response. I don't know. Anyway, Joe, let's talk about the, I'm not super sensitive, but it seems to me when you're talking about unborn children or fetuses, however the term, of course, could matter to a lot of people morally, but when you start chatting about ultrasound and to make a comment like, well, just don't watch. I mean, it seems to me that shows a kind of a horse's ass attitude about what you're talking about. If you are a pro-life person, many people are, you don't joke about that. You're talking about human life. If you don't think it's human life, then maybe you can chuckle about it. But here's a pro-life guy saying, don't watch. This is all a big joke.
It's a big joke.
Is it a big joke?
It's a joke to him. It's a sop to his supporters. But I mean, it's such a cavalier and callous thing to say. He is in there acknowledging, Chris, that it actually could be a traumatic thing for a woman that she wouldn't want to see. It's not like he's saying this is best for you and you ought to see it. He's acknowledging that women would either be squeamish or just be completely horrified by having to be violated by the state that way. So to sort of make a joke, and you know, in that really great montage, we insult Latinos, we insult gays.
Oh, I got it. How about everybody with that?
We insult the unemployed. They're on drugs. I mean, he's really he's really kind of one of the big losers, I think.
Let's go to the issue. Maybe manhood's a good word for a guy's out of work, a woman too, but a guy, I think, sometimes especially a father with kids at home, he can't get a job. The plant's closed. The town's deteriorating. There's no industry left. What he prepared himself for from the time he was 18-year-old doesn't work as a chance to make a living. And the guy says the reason these guys are unemployed in Pennsylvania, which has an older population, I have a sense of the place. You make fun of the guy and say you can't pass a drug test. Now, first of all, I don't know what he's talking about, because that's not the problem. The reason for unemployment is not that guys can't pass drug tests. It's that they go out and look for a job and they can't find one without moving to some other part of the planet to find a job. And it's not a joke either. What's the comedy that we're hearing from this guy about the humiliation of being out of work for a guy? I don't get it.
I don't understand it either. And, you know, politicians are usually empathetic to the voters that they need to rely on to get elected. This guy seems to go out of his way to tick them off. I mean, the montage of insults that you played up top was impressive, and it's not a surprise that his rating's at 19%. But, you know, there are also, of course, institutional reasons that these 3 governors are in trouble, and it's not just the foot-in-the-mouth disease. They all come from either moderate or traditionally Democratic states, and they rode a wave of Tea Party populism in 2010, and that's receded largely, and you're seeing it in these poll numbers.
I don't know, Mike Kinsley once said a gaffe is when you say what you really believe, but I got to tell you, I don't think it's a gaffe, a mistaken word like Joe Biden does once in a while.
No, that's
to
not
make
a
him,
gaffe.
no, when you say things like the guy can't get a job because he's a drug addict, he's a stoner. I mean, give me a break. Let me ask you about an area. Yeah, go ahead.
As they were comparing homosexuality to incest or, bestiality, I mean, that is not a gaffe. Those are deeply held or somewhat held beliefs that he's exhibiting there, and I think voters are really turned off by it. He's way behind the times with respect to social issues, that's for sure.
I would say. Let's move on now to Florida and Maine, where the governors are also deeply unpopular. Here's why. In Florida, Rick Scott made significant cuts in education. He vetoed driver's licenses for children of illegal immigrants, rejected high-speed rail funding, and signed mandatory ultrasound. There it is again. And voter ID. There's another one. In Maine, Paul LePage cultivated one of the worst environments for business, according to Forbes, while he was named second from the worst among 45 governors ranked for job creation. According to figures from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, LePage is famously known for his pugnacious attitude. He once said, quote, about 47% of able-bodied people in this state of Maine don't work. It gets worse than that. Here it is.
As your governor, you're going to be seeing a lot of me on the front page saying, Governor LePage tells Obama to go to hell.
What's your response to them saying this is more than just one instance, but rather a pattern?
Tell him to kiss my butt. The only thing that I've heard is if you take plastic ball to put it in the microwave and you heat it up, it gives off a chemical that's similar to estrogen. And so, I mean, in the worst cases, some women might have little beards, but we don't want to do that.
Chuckle, Joan. I mean, these guys,
He's a moron. I'm sorry. He was lucky he got elected in a wave year, but the president won that state. And, I also love the dig at the president and the NAACP. This is a very white state. So that's just kind of gratuitous throwing of red meat to his Tea Party base. I don't see him surviving this next election cycle.
Well, they all came in with the tide. They'll go out with the tide. Thank you, Joan Walsh, and thank you, Sam Stein. Up next, how the president